This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and I have been MIA for the first time in about, I would say 2 years, but it's a lot longer than that, because before the podcast actually started, I did a video a day in Alex's Legacy, I suppose. If you don't know what that is, you can just hashtag it on Instagram. But so I guess, yeah. So I've had a hectic month. Anyone that does follow me on social media would have seen that. I've been everywhere, man. So I had my good friend Mateusz come over from Germany at the start of this month, and we're going to do a lot of filming. So we've done 3 seminars and filmed all that, as well as a lot of other content as well. And on top of that, we had cameras break. I had to travel to, I didn't, but Mateusz had to go to Sydney to try and get them fixed. Couldn't get them fixed. Had to pick up a new one. Like, all sorts of stuff has happened. I had 3 weddings just on the weekend just gone. It has been a month where I may have committed to a fair bit. And so I am, well, the other thing about that, actually, what I wanted to share with you all is that we're kind of changing, we are changing the way that the podcast will be delivered. So we are trialing a video podcast as of this week coming, basically. That way I can get it shared out onto both YouTube and on Facebook a lot easier. Hopefully actually on Instagram as well. But it will be a video podcast. Everything else will pretty much stay the same. It'll be relatively short, somewhere between, I'd say, 6 to 10 minutes, depending on the topic. But it will also be a video as well, rather than right now it's just the audio. So that's one of the changes, and I recorded a couple of podcasts the other week, but we never ended up putting them up because it was just before heading to Melbourne. So anyway, I drove 24 hours in the week, which went all the way from Canberra to Melbourne, ran the seminar, and then left Melbourne, went out to the Vic Coast, and saw I saw some burnt land. Holy shit. From Lakes Entrance, if you want to, anyone that doesn't live in Australia, just get maps up. Australia. Get maps up, and you will see Lakes Entrance. So pretty much just north of Lakes Entrance. And from there, all the way to Eden, about 4 kilometers south of Eden was burnt. And that was just the road. I got some photos I haven't shared on social yet. I will, though. And it was that was the road. So you can imagine all of the forest, basically the bush either side of the road was like for kilometers. Like the sheer devastation, the sheer amount of land that was burnt is hard to fathom. It's phenomenal. It's eerie. It's like crazy. And of course, there's you usually if there's in Australia, especially, I suppose that's my experience, you pull over in where there's bush and you can hear the birds. And because all the trees are burnt, that's what makes it really eerie. There's like no birds, so you don't get that background noise of being in the bush, of hearing birds and then like leaves in the wind. Nothing. There is nothing. There is silence. So to try and to explain that to you, we pulled over, and I'll share this video this week now that I've spoken about it, actually, on my Instagram, at Whiskey, Weights and Wisdom. And there's a little bit of regrowth now, which is beautiful, right? It's almost like it's coming out of silence now, but just it's so hard to fathom the eeriness of just you can't hear any wildlife. If there's any wildlife in that area, that it's not obvious, because all the birds have gone to, I suppose, well, either perished or gone to where there actually is vegetation, and so it's just burnt sticks and charred grounds. With now and I'll show you some photos, some green coming out of it. Anyway, there was hundreds of kilometers, right? So give it 100 kilometers, by the way, for anyone playing along in the imperial system, is 60 miles. 100 kilometers, 60 miles. So there was 60-year miles, 60 years, 60 heaps of miles. And yeah, it was extremely eerie. But anyway, it's beautiful to see some of the regrowth happening. But yes, we drove all the way up through there, then back up to Canberra, and I'm back in on the tools this week. So I've got heaps of content coming up for you guys, considering that we've had about probably just shy of 20 hours of content filmed as well this month. So from that, I'll be building out some heaps of content to share on social media for you, but also content for an online seminar, online course, and sort of building that out, especially for a lot of you that have spoken about it. And I say a lot, a few of you guys have reached out from the States and Europe. That way you've got access to all the content there as well. So we've got some exciting things coming up with building out what those products look like for everyone. So they've got access to developing that and learning the models. The key thing there is learning the models of understanding yourself better. Really, that's kind of it. That's what the whole book is based off as well. So I wanted to catch you all up with what's going on and what the last month has been like. And I've still got a week left of some hectic filming and that. So we probably have another 15 hours, I suppose, of content this week to film. But on top of that, I didn't want to leave you with just an update. I want to share with you something that I have found to be absolutely paramount for me. If I run a default pattern, if I just run habitually and unconsciously, I end up really burning myself into the ground. I say yes to things and I take on the challenge. What I've learned is that I have to be really mindful of that. I'm not sure if this is something that maybe you have to do as well. Maybe, there are some people there that can just work and take pride in that. And there's some utility to that, but there's also a lot of utility. There's a lot of ability to be able to slow down, to recharge is crucial. And so there's this story about sharpening the saw, and there's two lumberjacks, and they've got their saws out, and they're both cutting down a tree of the same size. And so they both start at the same time, and they're sawing away, and then one guy stops sawing, sits down, and as he sits, he just slowly just sharpens his saw. And the other guy's like, great, I'm going to get ahead on him. So he's just sawing away and muscling away at it. And then the guy gets back up and continues sawing. And then after a little while, he sits down and just quietly and calmly sharpens his saw again. And the other guy's like, great, I'm way ahead of him. And so he's sawing away. And then the guy gets up again who was sitting down to sharpen his saw. And then he sits there and has his last go at the tree, and it falls over. And the bloke that was sitting there, that was working there the whole time, that never stopped, was like, what the fuck? I never stopped working. How did you get ahead? And he's like, well, I stopped to sharpen the saw. And so the key thing here is that sometimes doing nothing is one of the most important things we can do, because we're never doing no thing. We're never doing no thing, right? That's what nothing means. It means no thing. Like resting and recovering is crucial in the ability to be able to refresh, to go again and go well. We all know this. And it's a rule for every single thing, right, to recharge your batteries, so to speak. So I even remember a story, and this is where it became really highlighted for me, of when I was with my dad. I remember a story because it was my story. I was with my dad in Sydney, and we had a big day going to like the IMAX theatre and all sorts of stuff. And I was quite young, maybe about 11 or 12. And so we walking around Sydney. It was a hot day, and we sit down after a couple of hours of I suppose, doing what father and son do in a city. And he ordered himself a beer, and he got me a lemonade. Sat down, and I go, mate, what are we doing now? And he doesn't even look at me. We're just sitting side by side outside on a busy street in Sydney. And he looks straight ahead, and he goes, just watching the world go by, and takes a sip of his beer. And I was like, oh. And he didn't realize it at that time, but that was a memory for me, a core memory. And that was something for me to be able to establish that sometimes the most important thing that you can do is nothing, right? Because we know it's not doing anything. You're actually relaxing, you're resting. That's what you're doing. And understanding that allows us to actually start to realize that it's the same as training. Like, training isn't always exercise. It's not on or off. There's gray area. And when we learn how to basically take care of that and take care of ourselves, we get to go harder. We get to actually really bring out the best of ourselves. And in order to do that, we need to look after ourselves. And when we look after ourselves and we're doing that, we're bringing the best out of ourselves, that's when we can allow other people to do the exact same thing. That's my offer for you this week. But otherwise, team, I'm out. You guys know the drill. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me. If you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, jump on Facebook, search my page in there. It's still called Beyond the Matrix. I'd love to see you in there. Otherwise, team, I'm out. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.